It's the final countdown. So I was going to actually get a piece of that music, but then I realised I'd probably get some kind of copyright strike or something. Do you know what happened to me this weekend, Luke? Do you know? Have I told you? I don't think I have.
I don't think so.
What happened to me this weekend, talking about copyright strikes, is I got a little message from YouTube saying that one of my live streams that I do as Zentor, where, by the way, I'm improvising live, had been, sort of flagged by a pop, a Thai pop artist as using the same melody. I was like, I've never heard of this guy. It's obviously massive in Thailand, probably. Anyway, so I went and listened, and it was just like I had to go through listening to this piece of music. I mean, I guess if you're into that kind of music, it was a good example of it. Yeah, so it was good music, but it was just like, and I literally could not hear. And then it shows you the little bit, and there was just me basically playing a melody which is made up of major thirds going round a 1-4-5-1 chord progression. Just, I mean, it's almost like uncopyrighted, but you cannot, it's like, that's music. All right, in that case, Mozart, do you know what I mean? You stole it off Mozart or something. Anyway, so and I look, and then I listened to the track, and there was literally there was no, I mean, it had a 1-4-5-1 chord progression in it, but that was it. So anyway, I mean, it's probably, some kind of robot algorithm just picking it up by accident and stuff. So I wrote no, that's not, you can't do that. I mean, it doesn't matter, because all it meant was that my videos weren't allowed to be monetized. But I can't do that anyway yet, because I'm building up my channel from nothing. And anyway, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't choose to do it right now anyway. So that's not how I'm going to choose to make money from it, by monetizing my videos. But it was just almost the principle of the thing. It was like, no, I'm not stealing somebody else's melody. You can't copyright 1-4-5-1 chord progression, surely. It's utterly ridiculous. Anyway, it's the final countdown. So the first thing to say is that this splurge is going to be different to the others. And the next session, which is the final session of the Idea Explosion Challenge competition live sessions, is happening in 3 days. Not 2 days, 3 days. So you've got 3 days to do this last splurge. And the reason I've made it 3 days is we're really going to turn up the heat, and we're going to go much, much faster. Okay? If you think you've been going fast so far, now it's time to really, really put the accelerator on. Okay? And I'm going to give you 3 days to see how many ideas you can make, because it is true to say that this approach, quality through quantity, is about making more music. Yeah, that's how it actually happens. And I'm going to tell you why that's incredibly important later on in this session. So I'm going to give you 3 days to make more ideas than you thought possible. Really going to turn up the heat. Okay? But before that, post in the chat, what's been your number one pleasant surprise since starting the challenge? What's been your number one pleasant surprise since starting the challenge? Post in the chat. Yes, Tina says, did you know using the note C1? That's copyrighted, mate.
That is ridiculous. 1-4-5-1, playing major thirds.
I know. No, it's all right. At the end of the day, on the one hand, they are actually, in a sense, protecting. And if it's, you can't have somebody listening to all of the videos, yeah. So you're going to have mistakes, and so it's not. I'm not annoyed about it. It was just funny, just like a funny experience. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these. All right, let's read out some of these, Luke.
Let's see. Making music is fun, says Juso. Who knew? Into Ashes. Right now I can do 3 splurges in 30 minutes. It seems as though these are the best splurges I've done so far. There you go. Murafly. Letting go of quality makes it so much more fun. It really does. Colin
Brilliant,
Michael Roberts.
Murafly. I know that that I remember from various things that you've said over the time that you've struggled with this. So well done about that. Brilliant. That's a win right there.
Let's see. Colin Michael Roberts is enjoying making bad music. Let's see. Jeb Colwell says speed.
Yep.
Ben Kubica says, I've loved finding how many ideas I had I would have never found otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Tino Gugger. Every small idea can be used.
Absolutely.
Got that right. Hamzamaz says, arranging visually helped my workflow.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that complicated because it doesn't matter how it is at that moment because you can always change it. And it is actually much, the more you listen to anything, or the more you experience something in a particular mode, in a particular frame. So for instance, if you listen to a piece of music as a loop over and over again, one of the reasons you find it hard to move on is because it becomes concrete. The way that you kind of experience it as a loop. So when you start arranging it, it's like it's something different and it feels weird and it feels wrong. So you're like, well, what do I do? So then you go back to looping. Maybe there's something wrong with the loop, but you're just creating more of a problem for yourself. So my way around it, my initial, I had an earlier solution to it, which is called the loopitis cure, where you actually use a template created from another piece of music of an arrangement. But actually what's much quicker, much easier, and works great is just to visually arrange it without worrying about how it sounds. Because then the first time you hear the music, beyond actually writing it, first time you hear the music, it's actually a piece of music. It may well be a terrible piece of music, but it is actually in time rather than in a loop. I mean, a loop's in time in a sense, but you know what I mean? It's not looping. It's actually a piece of music, which basically totally sidesteps the problem of loopitis. So, yeah.
Let's see here. Fusion breaks, not being hung up on what I'm creating.
Let's read the one before. How quickly I'm improving. We're going to talk about that one in a bit later as well. Yeah.
Let's see. Shy Right. Randomly choosing a preset and winding up with a weird synth-based sound. I thought I was sunk, but I loved the end product.
Fantastic.
James Thompson. Finding my mojo again.
Yay.
Mojo has...
Right.
El Arturo. I'm better than I thought I was.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Don't always listen to those thoughts. That inner critic may well be leading you down up the garden path. Not always, but often.
Let's see. Bear Blue, that I can have a lot of fun with ideas growing organically rather than waiting for inspiration.
Yeah, you don't have to have an idea because ideas come from the process. Yeah. I mean, of course, ideas can come outside of the process as well. So you can use that too. But the majority of the time, I don't come into what I'm doing with an idea. And you don't need to. I mean, just imagine how much more music you can make when you realize that. Yeah.
Let's see. Band Reject. I remember how to play bass. LOL. That's good. Dakota Blair, something as simple as splurging has opened up my creative side of making music.
Yeah, so simple. So one of the things that I've noticed, particularly in the modern information landscape, is that we have de-emphasized simplicity and emphasized complexity, and things having to be. And it's like hard isn't good, complex isn't good, simple isn't good. Easy isn't good. They're different things. But simple and good and easy and good I think, is actually better. And if you have an internal reaction to what I'm about to say, then there's some work you might want to do there. Simple and good and easy and good is better than hard and good and complex and good. Yeah, I do think that is true. Yeah. Our industrial age education has taught us that hard and complex are better. Yeah, there's a kind of that's what we're looking to do. Yeah, to do things well, but be hard and complicated. Actually, the maximum effort for the maximum result is what we're trying to do. What I'm looking for you to do is expend the minimum effort for the maximum result. Okay, that still means you're expending a lot of effort all the time. I mean, you see the amount of effort I expend in my life. It's a lot. But I'm always looking for the minimum amount I can do that can get the maximum result. That's the formula that's going to get you places in the world. Yeah, because otherwise what you end up doing is digging a hole every day and filling it in. Going, this is good because it's hard. It's not, is it? Wonderful. Right, let's do it. So, hit like if you like splurging. Okay. And if you do like splurging, then you're going to love this. When I say we are running a workshop where you're going to finish a track in 3 hours, and we're running it next week. It is one of the paid things that we do. I'm not going to jump up and down and give you a massive sales pitch about it because there's details about it on the coaching site, okay? So it's called the Turbo Track Attack. Basically, we go from 0 all the way to rough demo in 3 hours. I did this for the first time last month, and it was absolutely wild success. People absolutely loved it, jumping up and down for joy, saying, "Oh, I've never done this before. Oh, it solves so many problems." Ooh. Yeah. So we're going to do it again. Okay. So if you're interested in that, there's absolutely no requirement. Obviously, if you're interested in that, click the link in the description. It's one of the links in the description where I've just written what it is, all the details. Okay. And it is a paid thing, but of course, there's no requirement for you to do it. Of course. Anyway, so. What we're doing today is the final countdown splurge. And what you're going to discover in the session today is what the best do that no one else does. I just think it's absolutely amazing that there's all of it. Well, they're not even clues. They literally tell you what they've done. Like they literally say, this is how I did it. And then everybody else who isn't the best goes, what you really shouldn't do is that. It's like, what you got to do is the opposite. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And then, you sort of end up getting to arguments with people about, or, shall we say animated discussions about doing this thing. Yeah. And also how to do it yourself. In fact, you're going to start doing it yourself in this splurge. And also I'm going to, in the course of doing this, I'm going to show you how this splurge, the final countdown splurge, has led to me making the best music of my life as Zentor. Now, when I say the best music of my life, I'm not saying it's the best music in the world or anything. I'm just saying the best music compared to the music I made before. Okay? And it is the final countdown splurge, when I reflect on it, it's the final countdown splurge, the one that you're about to do, that has actually led to the best music of my life for a number of different reasons. Okay, and it can do the same for you too, if you really take seriously the instructions in it. Okay, and of course, one person is going to have to start making faces like this when they win this Moog. Well, it's not actually this Moog, it's a very similar Moog. It's exactly, it is the same, but it's not that one. Okay, so another thing, I'm going to be making extra videos in the coming weeks. And I thought what would be cool, rather than me, just because I've got so many different ideas, and I was like, well, what shall I do first? So if you have any thing you want to ask me, anything not even ask me, but anything that you're confused about, not just about splurging, but just about music in general, about how you're going to make this work. You know, if you're interested in making it as a career, if you're interested in building a business out of it, if you're struggling with some technical difficulties, anything like that, I want to make this content in order to serve you. Okay, so I've put a link to a new channel in Discord called the Video Requests channel. So if you have anything that you want me to cover in these videos, then click the link in the description and write it in there. Yeah. And just understand, if you've had any insights in the last 8 days, there's a bunch more where they came from. It's been one of the joys of my life doing this coaching thing. Because every time, well, maybe not every time, but almost every time I do another coaching session, and bear in mind I'm doing multiple ones every week, you know, probably, I don't know, between 7 and 10 coaching sessions a week. More if you include the coaching sessions I do with my team. It's like every single time there's a new insight, there's a deeper insight, there's something new, there's a different way of looking at it. It's like it just continues. Yeah. So make sure you click the remind bell to make sure you don't miss these things. Because honestly, what you're learning right now is just the beginning. It really is. There's a lot more, and there are so many things that we just automatically do without thinking about it, which are, when you really, really look into how we're doing something, there are always better ways of doing things. Yeah, even the stuff that I'm teaching you now is not the best way of doing things. In a year's time, there's going to be better ones. Yeah, and that's what we're doing here. We're constantly upgrading and iterating on what we're doing. I mean, how did splurging start? What was your first experience of splurging, Luke? Just to make this clear, how the methods and the process is always upgrading. Do you remember when it was? I remember.
It was the Make an Album with Mike in probably 2017 or 2018.
Yes, that's right. So it was the Make an Album with Mike program. I did this program, and where I basically took a class of people through making an album from beginning to end. And when I look back on how I'd made the 3 albums I'd made in my career, I was like, well, I always started by making a bunch of ideas, which I then chose from. So what I would do is I would take a day or a couple of days, and I wouldn't make full tracks. I'd just make these ideas. And that was the beginning of the Splurge. Yeah, and it's kind of developed a lot since then. But back then, it was there were rules like you had to have a beginning and a middle and end and things like that. It doesn't have any of those rules anymore. It's become much simpler, much easier. We've lowered the bar massively, and as a result, it's much better. So yeah. Okay. And just so you know, in 3 days, not 2, 3 days is the next live stream, the final live stream. That's the 23rd/24th of April. 23rd, if you're not in Australia, New Zealand, or this side of the world. Why the way that you listen is as important as how you make music. How to win the race against boredom and keep the vibe alive on a track for as long as it needs. And the 3 distinct approaches you must take to make the best music you can, and when and how to take them. You see, you might go, well, listening, why is listening important? We don't actually listen to the music, do we, Luke?
No.
What do we listen to? When you're listening to a piece of your own music, what do you tend to be listening? Not you, Luke, but what do people, unless they've been trained otherwise, tend to listen to instead? What's
not there, or what they think the sound is like in their head versus what's actually happening, or the thoughts that are running through, telling them how worthless they are.
Yes, so they're listening to all of the things they haven't done. They're listening to all of the things it isn't. They're listening to their thoughts. Yeah, and what I'm going to train you to do is actually listen to the music, because that is there. All of the stuff that hasn't happened yet, that's not there. Yeah, all of the stuff it isn't there. What is there is what is there. And that's where we need to start. Yes, we do employ thought, but we don't employ it when we're listening to the music. because we need to listen to the music in order to know what to do. We don't need to know what to do in order to listen to the music, which is the way, when you think about how you listen to your own music right now, you are knowing what I was about to say. Yeah, you don't listen to the music in order to know what to do. Yeah, you listen to the music in order to know what to do. Sorry, I was just having a new thought. What you're actually doing is you're listening to your thoughts, yeah, which is stopping you knowing what to do. Yeah, because you don't hear the music. Yeah, I think I lost that thought there. Anyway, so as you can see, thoughts can be very unreliable. But first, let's review. How many splurges have you done so far? Type in the chat. How many splurges have you done so far, Luke, in your life?
Since the leap started, at least 1,600. But then before that, there were probably at least 100 or 200. But that was when splurging was. You would pretty much splurge the entire track outright.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I was doing it.
That's right. That was the first version of Splurge, which we've changed significantly since then.
And I'm still learning.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly read out some of in fact, why don't you quickly read out some and I'll just display them on the screen. We don't have to.
Let's see. Hasna, 25. LA Drones, 17. Coastals, 22. Earth Tribe Percussion, 14. Fleming Music, 13. Jacinta Lurwill, 10. Pivot Rodriguez, 23. I lost it. Yuval, 30 to 40.
Okay.
XECHC, 8. Leo, 53.
Awesome. All right. Brilliant. So remember, for the competition, you only have to do 11. But the more that you do, the more progress you're going to make. And remember, we are judging this based upon the amount of progress you make. Yeah. So it's not exactly that we're taking into account, because we will ask you how many splurges you've done. And it's not exactly that we will be taking it. It's not that we'll be taking it into account exactly. So someone who's done 100 won't win because they've done 100. It's the progress that you're making that will determine whether you win or not. So for instance, Claire, who won in January, she did 36, I think. I seem to remember, which isn't like an eye-watering amount, but what she learned from the process really, stood out. Yeah. Okay. So how does the last 8 days compare to your process that's wrong, isn't it? Your progress from January to April. Your progress from January to April is what it should say. How does the last 8 days compare to your progress from January to April? Because we've been leveraging quantity. Because, one of the things that you find is that when you make, when you start leveraging quantity, you find that the quality, as long as you can let go of it, as long as you can let go of the quality, which is stopping you making quantity, the quality starts to increase very, very quickly, usually. Yeah. How does the last 8 days compare to your progress from January to April? Okay, Luke, read some of these out. Oh, we've lost you. We lost your audio.
There we go. Colin Michael Roberts, I made about 10x more music.
Mm-hmm.
Shoots, I'm way faster at getting ideas out now. Safe Nafe, more motivation.
Yes,
Tino
so
Gunner.
that's something important. People think that you need motivation in order to act. I mean, you do need a tiny, tiny, tiny little spark of motivation. Otherwise, you wouldn't do anything, right? But actually, if you want the kind of like real, I'm really, really motivated feeling, the only way of doing that is actually by acting. So motivation comes from action, not the other way around.
Let's see. Garrett Weinholtz. I've actually put down more tracks during this fall than all of January through April.
Fantastic.
LA Drones. Exciting.
Brilliant.
Oh, I keep getting lost. YouTube.
It's all right. You don't have to do all. You don't have to do all of them. It's fine. We'll get through.
Stud EO made much more music and had more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Juso Lukanen has been more focused. Jeffrey Bond, more creative. Jeb Colwell, less precious.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Miller, way more productive.
Yeah.
Stephen Conley had more ideas in the last week than all year.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the thing is that the ideas come from ideas. Yeah. And better ideas come from more ideas. Yeah, because you're putting more into the pot. You're stoking, you're making the bonfire brighter. Really what splurging is doing is it's creating more fuel for the creative process. That's one way of thinking about it. Yeah. So you want to continue doing this splurge practice even when you're finishing music. Like one of the things I say in the Leap when we're talking about the automatic music machine, which is the full process, is even when you've got a deadline, yeah, and you're finishing stuff. Let's say you've got a deadline, you've got to finish a bunch of stuff because you've got you're mastering your album on a day. On those last 3 days when you think you haven't got time to splurge, one of the things that's going to make it actually quicker to finish, even though you're spending some of your time splurging, is splurging. Because it constantly reminds you of that energy, yeah, what you're actually doing. Because the creative process, as you get closer to the end, it narrows and it narrows and it narrows, and more of your focus is on less and less things. Yeah. At the same time as there being this big wall of judgment. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what they're going to say. That creates this perfect storm of. So by continuing a splurge practice, even though you think you don't have the time to do it, because you've got to hit this deadline, will actually make the finishing of the music quicker. So the time that you invest in splurging is going to multiply the amount that you can do in the finishing. Okay. It's just time and again when I've been kind of getting to the end of the process and finishing stuff, mixing it and all that kind of stuff. And then I haven't been splurging and I'm getting all stuck. I'll be like, all right, I've got to practice what I preach and splurge every day. I do a quick splurge or a couple of splurges and I come back to it and boom, I'm away again. Okay. Another thing that you can do with splurging is if you've had a break or you've been on holiday and you find it really, really hard to get back to it, don't compare, don't try and do, right, I'm going to do an hour. Do a quick 5-minute splurge, quick 2-minute splurge. Yeah, that will get the gears moving again. Okay, so what's the reason for the progress? What's the reason for this progress? What's the number one reason for the progress that you've made in the last 8 days? Look at that. I've been talking to everybody about what I've been learning. So exciting to see what I've accomplished so far and still haven't gotten to the cool part of listening back. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So this is a good question. Do you splurge daily? Take a day off ever? Well, I mean, I would be lying if I said that I haven't had a day off splurging for years. But yeah, the idea is to do it every single day. One of my masterminders, Tony, he splurged, I think it's over 500 days in a row now. And that's just his practice. He just does it every single day, and he's been tracking it for absolutely ages. So he's been doing it over, nearly 2 years. I mean, maybe it was even 2 years now. I don't know. It's a very, very long time. So that is the idea. Remember though, splurge can just be 5 minutes. So it's not like, do you know what I mean? It's not, You're not going to the studio and, it's just like, you can just do it on your phone. So okay, so reasons for this progress. Can we read some of these out, Luke?
Let's see. Kayuna says, focus, consistency, and letting go of expectations.
Fantastic.
Gabby King says, absolutely the fact that putting ideas down is so much less pressure with this mindset.
Absolutely. Pressure.
Nate.
Pressure is huge. Like that pressure can be too thick. Pressure can be helpful, but pressure can also be like, yeah. So, and a lot of this training that we do here is about how to work under pressure, because you are going to be under pressure. Yeah. And it's like the pressure doesn't have to be a problem. That you can apply that pressure, but what you have to do first is you have to become aware of where you're at. And a lot of splurging it's like awareness training in a way. Yeah, it's like being aware of what you're actually doing. Yeah, because the direction to not focus on quality is basically an awareness direction. Are you focusing on quality? Which is building your awareness. You're practicing the awareness of what you're doing in the process. And what you will find is occasionally you'll find yourself like waking up and going, whoa, oh my God, I've been tweaking this hi-hat for the last 10 minutes and I'm not supposed to be doing that. And every time you do that and then you come back to splurging again, you're building that awareness. You're building that ability to actually kind of report on your creative process. Yeah. And how that helps with pressure is that you start to be able to say, well, I'm under a lot of pressure here. What is the optimal thing to do at this stage? Rather than just going, oh, things are work, like that, which is what often happens. Brilliant. Practice. That's it. Absolutely. Practice. And I think, there is a kind of objection around practice, because splurging is literally, it's, that is that thing, deliberate practice. Yeah, it's almost like that. I think it's a terrible word for practice. It's like, I get it. I've been practicing all my life, various different things. But actually, practice itself, where it's deliberate, it doesn't have to be in how you actually do the thing. Yeah, the deliberate part can come afterwards. Yeah, so part of deliberate practice is in feeding back on your, to yourself, and that's where the listening comes in. Okay, so I don't think deliberate practice is the same as careful practice. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm not saying that careful practice is necessarily a bad thing. It's just that some form of practice is better than no practice, which is what we end up doing when we inappropriately focus on the result. There's a whole thing that I talk about a lot, which is the difference between the production mindset and the practice mindset. Okay, and what we're getting into here is the practice mindset, because with the training that's out there about how to make music and everything, it's all very focused on the production mindset, which is inappropriately focusing on the result all the time. The result is simply a thing that helps us understand what we need to practice. If you think of it like that, A, it takes a lot of pressure off you, and B, you get much better. So counterintuitively, by taking your focus off the result in that way, off the production mindset, you actually get the result that you want much quicker. Okay, let's keep moving. So in the final 3 days of the challenge, what can you improve? In the final 3 days of the challenge, what can you improve? Oh, I just need to highlight this one. The old mindset of I need 4 hours to make a track is gone. Brilliant. Yes, there's a very well-known and very good, actually. I really rate. I'm not going to say who it is, but there's a very well-known music production teacher who I really rate. I think is wonderful. Who I heard him say, if you haven't got at least an unbroken stretch of 4 hours to make music, just forget it. I was just like, okay, right there is literally one of the worst pieces of advice I've ever heard. Like, which is unusual for him because I think almost everything else he said is great. But I was just like, dude, if that was true, I would not be making any music at any point. Right? It's just like it would never happen. Yeah. So what we do over here is we say, if you've got 2 minutes, that's enough. If you've got 30 seconds, that's enough time. Yeah. It's all about lowering the bar. Okay. So let's go to some improvements. Luke, can you read out some?
Yep. Let's see. Son of a Preacher says, do more and speed it up. Austin Miller, speed. Band Reject, output. Nachi, gotta go fast. Speed. Leo Nordman, speed. Ottawa, I want to be faster in my splurges. El Arturo, speed.
Mm-hmm. Great. Fast. Push myself to find new avenues to explore. No limits. Yeah, Rob, I'm going to talk a bit more about that later. Don't get distracted looking for something better. The first thing you play is usually the best. And even if it isn't, you can always play something the next time you come back to it. Right? Why not just play something else? At this stage. Yeah, that's what I've done is I've pulled the creative process apart so that you're focusing. You'll see this in the Turbo Track Attack if you're going to do that. So what I've done is I've gone, right, what you're supposed to be focused on, the number one mindset that you're approaching this with this part of the process is this. Do this. Right, I'm going to do that. Next, in this part, this is the number one mindset you're focused on. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Do that. All right, I'm going to do that. Next part of the process. This is now what you're focused on. And these things are different at different stages of the process. Yeah. And one of, it's like, as I have said a number of times, you can't go forward if you've got your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time. Yeah. So if you know what it is you're supposed to be doing at each stage of the process, it reduces the number of options you have. It makes it much easier for you to know what it is you're supposed to be doing. It becomes much more fun. It becomes much easier, and you get much better results. Yeah. So rather than like, oh, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this. Oh, I'll just go and watch YouTube. Can't be bothered. I'm just going to escape. I had an insight actually yesterday. This came from the live streaming. I realized that one of the things, because I ask a lot, I've asked. It was a mastermind. I had a quarterly review with him yesterday. I said, why do music producers and musicians, why do they go to YouTube tutorials? And he said, obviously, to get information, to learn something. And I think that is true. But isn't it also true, just look at your own experience, don't you actually do that to escape? Yeah? Mm-hmm. To escape being stuck, to escape this, I don't know what to do next, to escape the overwhelm. Isn't YouTube actually an escape from the pain? But you don't want to escape. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is figure out how you don't have to escape. Yeah? Revel in it. Revel in the creative process. Revel in the struggle. Revel in not knowing what to do. How cool would it be if you could do that? Well, that's what this is about. Okay. Right. I can't think of a thing to say which will connect the last slide with this one, the last thought with this one, so I'm just going to go forward. So, what is the universal feature of every great composer and music producer in history? What is the universal feature of every great composer and music producer in history?
Shaved heads.
Sorry? Shaved heads. Absolutely. That must mean we're all right then. Yeah, no, I have a fidget spinner. It's and I'm not Luke, I'm Mike. Luke's this one. I'm Mike. Yeah, this is because of my ADHD. So yeah. Sorry, I'll stop. I'll use a different one, which is less noisy. It helps me think. It helps me focus. So here we go. Read some of these out, Luke. Yeah.
El Arturo says beards. I agree.
Not true. No.
Let's see. Into Ashes. They make a ton of music.
Yes.
For fans of Wet Circles. Proliferation. Dakota Blair. Originality.
Mm-hmm.
Leo Norman. Perseverance. Juso Lukanen. Creativity. Jeb Colwell. Style.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Kubica. They tend to think outside of the box in some way. Schutz. Sound. Tino Gugger. Amount of music they make / made. Matt Stone. Emotional impact. Hertzrigger. Unique style. Kayuna. Tenacity. Rob Jonathan. Prolific? ? Eyal Gross. A clear channel for ideas / inspiration.
Cool. So I think all of the things that everyone has said so far are true. But it's funny, the thing that makes all of the other things possible, whether it be unique style, tenacity, sound, thinking outside of the box, style, creativity, flows from that. This is the universal thing that everything else comes from. A style, a channel, yeah, a creativity, perseverance come from finishing and releasing an eye-watering amount of work. You go, hang on a minute, don't you need perseverance in order to finish an eye-watering amount of work? Again, the formula is backwards. The perseverance comes from the work. It comes from the progress, because that is addictive. The progress, the moving forward, that being better today than you were yesterday is the thing that gives you perseverance. That's where the creativity comes from. That's why you can keep doing it. I'm obsessed at the moment about making my music making process addictive. I've again developed a sort of model about how that happens by kind of relating the music making progress to games. Because I realize if you can make them, because people are always talking about the resistance. I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield. If you've not read his book, The War of Art, then it's a good book to read. But he's got this thing, he's created this whole metaphor about how it's called The War of Art rather than The Art of War, which is a kind of clever thing, obviously, because there's Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and he's flipped it around called The War of Art. And he kind of the narration is that we encounter this monster called the Resistance, which we have to go to battle with every day. And, the first time I read it, I was, this is amazing. It's not just me. It's wonderful. And I love Stephen Pressfield. I think it's absolutely brilliant, but bear in mind. The problem is with this whole idea of resistance is that it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where if you feel you're going to battle with yourself every single day, that's what you will experience. And it's not very pleasant. So I quickly realized that while this metaphor is useful and clever, and also he writes very well, he's an actual writer, he's a screenwriter and novelist. While it is useful in a sense, like creating this big monster of the resistance isn't helpful. And what I am doing, what I'm obsessed with at the moment in my own music and also in helping my coaching clients and people like Luke and people in the Leap, is actually creating a situation where there's what I call negative resistance. It's like you're addicted to making music. It's like you literally can't stop, and you have to stop yourself. So you have to resist. but it's like the resistance is your friend, because otherwise, your wife would divorce you, and you'd never see your kids, and it's like that kind of obsession level. Yeah. So the problem that you have is stopping making music, not starting making music. Yeah. And that is what I think these greats have done. They've created a situation where they are literally addicted to the thing that they want to do. And it's possible to do that. It's possible for you to do that. Just imagine what it would be like if you were able to be in that situation. Yeah, and you may well have experienced at certain periods of your life where you've been completely addicted to it. Yeah. So, test this yourself. Go to the Spotify profile of your favorite legendary artist, has to be a legendary artist, and count the number of pieces of music they have released. Right? It's just ridiculous when you do that. Yeah. Now, yes, some of these profiles will have re-releases and that kind of thing. Yeah. But remember, this Spotify profile won't include what they haven't released, the music that they've finished and haven't released. An essential question to ask yourself is this. Yeah, again, it's this formula. Which way round is this formula? Did they finish and release this volume of music, this quantity of music, because they are great? Because that is what the world tells you. Or are they great because they finished and released this volume of music? And you know, there's a lot of clues out there as to which way round this is. Let's talk about one of the electronic music greats of all time, Aphex Twin. In the album, sort of the album which kind of broke him through, I think it's fair to say that, there's a clue in the name. It's called Selected Ambient Works. So in other words, here's the best of the ones that I finished. I selected them. Watch the Quincy Jones documentary. Watch the end of the next Netflix. So Quincy Jones is the guy who produced Michael Jackson and 5 billion other people, one of the greatest music producers of all time. Watch the end of the Netflix documentary about him for an incredible, it's just like,
Something is back. Let's see. Says it's live. Oh, wait, no, that's the replay. Hold on.
Or are we at a different place?
That's what I'm trying to figure. It says it's live. But, oh wait, now it's saying back. People are saying we're back.
Yay!
We're back.
We made it. Obviously, it's funny because I've been here a while, just hanging out, making explosion sounds, talking to myself, and obviously it didn't. I don't know what was going on. Obviously, we don't know what's going on because there's very complicated technical difficulties. I'm going to say what people say when they drop off a call. I got this from Jerry Seinfeld. You know, when a call drops and then they come back and they go, I don't know what happened there. As if they would know what actually happened. It's like, as if it's their fault. Anyway, sorry, my internet connection went down and now I'm back again. All right. So Quincy Jones, watch the Netflix documentary just for the bit at the end where it goes through all of the things that he did. All the things, it's just absolutely absurd. Even for me, the person who bangs on about quantity, it's like my eyes were just like, whoa. Yeah. Sia. Anyway, the pop artist, who not only sings songs herself, but writes an enormous amount of the hits that we know and either love or hate, depending on whether you like them or not. Here's what she said in a Tim Ferriss podcast. I don't think that I'm necessarily like a super talented songwriter. I think I'm just really productive. 1 out of 10 songs is a hit. So where a lot of people will spend 3 weeks on one song, I will write 10 in 3 weeks. Information is out there for how to do this, folks. Why do we not pay attention? Yeah? Why do we pay attention to people who maybe don't actually make music themselves, but just teach making music alone, or who've never done it themselves, who are just focused on improving skills in the absence of actually doing the thing? Yeah. Quantity is the process. Quality is result. Cooking is the process. Food is the result. Unless you're into raw, in which case you don't have to cook. But you still have to prepare. Preparation is the process in that case. food is the result. And the thing is, what a lot of people do is that they put these two things in opposition, quality and quantity. Yeah. So this is a question for people who haven't done the leap, okay, which is my flagship program. How much music did you finish last year? How much music did you finish last year? How much music did you finish last year?
Let's see. Otuan says 0. Stephen Conway says 6 tunes. Shane O'Hagan, none. Ricardo, 7 songs. Tino, 4 songs. Colin Michael Roberts, 2 albums. Boom.
Nice.
0. James Barrels, none. Nate G, none. Leo Nordman, an EP. Joel Diomen. Oh, I keep losing it. 0. Jeffrey Bond, about 5. Lake Morgan, like 10 songs tops. Robert Wilson, 0. El Arturo, 13 to 16 tracks. Ark, 1 track. Javisco, none. Luigi, 0. Mark Leonard, 0. Garrett, maybe 2 posts. Or finish and post, maybe 2 songs.
Okay. What's the reason you didn't finish more? What's the reason you didn't finish more? So, here it says here, by the way, 3 albums, but I'm still mixing them. That means you didn't finish them. Okay, so none. What's the reason you didn't finish more? Didn't have any ideas? What are you talking about? Didn't make any ideas? That might be the right thing to say, Andrew. Didn't have any ideas. That's not how it works. Fear. Laker. 021, perfectionism, which is another word for fear. Fear. To focus on quality. I was away from home. There's no excuse. Not enough time. Perception of quality. Not the priority. Laziness. You know, I'm not sure about that, Colin. I think laziness is like, it's not taking responsibility. I know it sounds like it is taking responsibility, but it's almost like, what does it even mean? I don't know. Are you too lazy to go to the toilet? Yeah. So, I relied on motivation. Brilliant. I'm not sure how that is a reason for not finishing more. I love concept albums. It doesn't mean you can't finish loads of them. Perfectionism and fear. Editing. Time. Not sure about that one either. So, if it's because you can't finishing anything unless it's amazing, and it may well be said that, you know, the excuse of time is because of this reason, yeah, or even because you're not satisfied with it, yeah. What would you do if you knew for 100% certain that you will never be satisfied? What would you do if you knew for 100% certain that you will never be satisfied? I have never been satisfied with a single piece of music I have ever made, and I've made a lot. What would you do if you knew that satisfaction is a terrible goal? What's the reason satisfaction is a terrible goal for the music that you make? So Yuval is saying here, I don't have the quality, talent and instrument to do that and knowledge. Yeah. So you don't need quality. So where does talent come from? Talent comes from practice, and you can make great music on any instrument. Yeah, a great musician who has practiced enough to have a talent can make great music on a dustbin lid. Okay, and knowledge. Yeah, where'd you get knowledge from? From doing. From doing. You don't get knowledge from videos. You don't get knowledge from training. You have to get the knowledge. So someone tells you to do something, you do it, or you just decide to do something, and the knowledge comes from the practice of doing it. Yeah. So question those assumptions, Yuval. Right. So what's the reason satisfaction is a terrible goal? Can you read some of these out, Luke?
Let's see. Stops you progressing from Mark Harmon. Arc says it's a never-ending story.
Yeah.
Pivot Rodriguez says it's impossible to achieve. Let's see. Some of these are from the previous question.
Okay.
Colin Michael Roberts. It's abstract, and you'll never really achieve it.
That's right.
Zico says your idea of being satisfied changes.
Exactly. That's right. So think of, I was explaining this to my 11-year-old who has, he's kind of naturally sort of the way his mind works is that he just wants to get things right all the time. It's very similar to me, actually. I'm a terrible perfectionist. This is the struggle that I've had throughout my life, which is why I can coach people about it, which is why I understand it. Yeah. And one of the things I realized is that satisfaction is like the horizon. Yeah. So you see the horizon, you walk towards it, and you will never reach it. And if you're a flat earther, trust me, that will, yeah. So the horizon, you'll never reach it. It's always moving away from you. And that's the trouble with satisfaction, because so you have a goal, the horizon, and you say, I want to get, when the music is this good, then I will be satisfied. Yeah, this is the perfectionist mindset. There's a fixed point. Yeah. And so you do the things to approach that goal. And by the time you've actually reached the point at which in the past you thought you would be satisfied, the building of the skills and the things that you have learned in order to do that mean that you are no longer satisfied. The horizon is further away from you again. Yeah. So if satisfaction is your goal, you're going to be perpetually suffering. Yeah. If what you're looking for is to always be proud of everything that you do, or even to be satisfied with everything you finish or release, don't make music. Now, I know that's a tough thing to say, but trust me, do something else. If that's what you're looking for, you ain't going to get it from music. Yeah. So if you can't find satisfaction in the result, where can you find endless pride and satisfaction is the question. Because you can find satisfaction from somewhere, but just not from the result. This is the equation that solves this problem. How smart you work on hard things multiplied by how hard you work on smart things equals your progress. Yeah, I'm just going to go back to that because you're probably going to be like, how smart you work on hard things multiplied by how hard you work on smart things. Yeah. So hard things are like finishing music multiplied by how hard you work on smart things. Yeah. Equals your progress. Because you do not know how good your music is. Never. At no point will you. Because for one thing, your opinion is constantly changing. For the other thing, it will constantly be demonstrated to you that what you thought was great, no one cares about. Who's right? You or them? Who knows? Yeah. Yeah. And the stuff that you think is terrible, everyone loves. Yeah. Now, you do not know how good your music is. And even if you think you do, your opinion will change constantly. Yeah. So by definition, your level of satisfaction and pride in your music is always changing. In the music itself, in the result. So you can't control that. It's dependent on the dream you had last night, whether you've just had an argument, how hungry you are, what situation your life's in, the weather, other things that we don't know about, yeah, that we're not aware of. So you can't control your opinion of your music. But what can you control? What gives you certainty? Your level of output and your own progress. How much progress you are making. How much better you are getting. I track this all the time with my music. In fact, I wasn't going to do this, but I'll show this to you. I'll open this up and hopefully it doesn't break the stream. This is what I do after every single one of my live streams. When I say every single one, sometimes I do miss some because I'm really, really busy. But I try to do this for every single one of my live streams. Hang on, that's not right. Where has it gone? Hang on a minute. Here we are. Sorry for the delay. It will be useful, just so you can see how serious I am about this. Just need to change this, Safari. So you see this spreadsheet here. Each one of these is another live stream that I've done. So this is another kind of performance live stream with Zentor, and here's the name of them. Yeah, and don't worry about this column. This is just the number of people on the stream at the time because I was just interested in it. And here you can see, actually, yesterday I was naughty and I didn't fill out all 3 boxes. What went well? What were the problems? And what are the options? Yeah, and I do this immediately after every stream, tracking my progress. Yeah, and over here, I've got 2 other boxes, addiction and quality. Yeah, this is my perception of quality. I know that, right? So my addiction level is how kind of much I couldn't stop, how much I wanted to do it, how much I felt like in it, yeah, how much I loved it, yeah. And here's how good I thought the result was. I'm very, very aware that that's not true, but it's just that. And here you can see, here I started this on the 1st of July, so I wasn't doing this one here, but it goes up and down all the time, yeah, these numbers, yeah. And I'm doing this I'm trying to do this every time I do a live stream, because I know that by being this intentional, I mean, this is where thought comes in after the process, being this intentional about my progress and actually tracking my progress is where the endless motivation comes from. Yeah. The very best know this. Hang on a minute, that's a bit weird. What's going on there? Strange. There we go. Yeah. The very best know this. They live it. If you don't believe me, I'm just going to play a quick video of a part of a video of a psychologist called Adam Grant. He did a TED talk called The Surprising Habits of Original Thinkers. So just check this out.
What about fear? Originals feel fear too. They're afraid of failing. But what sets them apart from the rest of us is that they're even more afraid of failing to try. They know you can fail by starting a business that goes bankrupt or by failing to start a business at all. They know that in the long run, our biggest regrets are not our actions, but our inactions. The things we wish we could redo, if you look at the science, are the chances not taken. Elon Musk told me recently he didn't expect Tesla to succeed. He was sure the first few SpaceX launches would fail to make it to orbit, let alone get back. But it was too important not to try. And for so many of us, when we have an important idea, we don't bother to try. But I have some good news for you. You're not going to get judged on your bad ideas. A lot of people think they will. If you look across industries and ask people about their biggest idea, their most important suggestion, 85% of them stayed silent instead of speaking up. They're afraid of embarrassing themselves, of looking stupid. But guess what? Originals have lots and lots of bad ideas. Tons of them, in fact. Take the guy who invented this. Do you care that he came up with a talking doll so creepy that it scared not only kids but adults too? No, you celebrate Thomas Edison for pioneering the light bulb. If you look across fields, the greatest originals are the ones who fail the most, because they're the ones who try the most. Take classical composers, the best of the best. Why do some of them get more pages in encyclopedias than others, and also have their compositions re-recorded more times? One of the best predictors is the sheer volume of compositions that they generate. The more output you churn out, the more variety you get, and the better your chances of stumbling on something truly original. Even the three icons of classical music, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, had to generate hundreds and hundreds of compositions to come up with a much smaller number of masterpieces. Now, you may be wondering, how did this guy become great without doing a whole lot? I don't know how Wagner pulled that off.
I do.
But for most of us, if we want to be more original, we have to generate more ideas.
Okay.
How did Wagner do it?
Yeah, how did Wagner do it? Well, what Adam Grant doesn't realize is that Wagner, they're talking about number of pieces of music. Well, one of Wagner's pieces of music, was about 100 of Mozart and Beethoven. So he actually did the same thing. It's just that they're tracking the number of pieces of music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
isn't the ring cycle like
24 hours? Yeah. It's like yes, exactly. So I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing that's the reason that for Wagner. Yeah. Now, the problem is, hang on, how do I get the cameras back? The problem with talks like this is they tell you what to do, yeah, but not how to do it, yeah. Which is why I started Make Music Your Life, this business and the coaching, and figured out how to consistently finish notes of music. Because the creative process is not a mystery. I can guarantee you that the code has been cracked. Still not hard. It's still not easy. The creative process is still involves solving problems and frustration. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be impossible. And I mean, even the greatest sort of creative sort of luminaries out there, people like Stephen Pressfield, Seth Godin is another one. They have this frame around it that it's just, we're just going to have to get used to the fact that it's really, really, it creates lots of suffering. We have to fight the resistance. We don't. We really, really don't. Yeah. Yes, it's hard, but it doesn't have to involve us sending ourselves insane or suicidal or depressed. That's not required. Okay. Of course, knowing how doesn't mean it's easy, because struggle is an essential element in the process. As I've said multiple times, without the struggle, you don't need creativity. Creativity is the process that the human brain uses in order to solve problems. Problems aren't a problem. Yeah? And this is the first step. Okay? I've coached thousands of musicians, music producers, and composers over the last 10 years, and at literally every level in many genres. And when people say some version of this, quantity isn't for me, I'm all about quality, yeah, or when I've got or done or learned this, then I'll finish something. So Yuval, that was an example, yeah. I haven't got the talent, I haven't got the keys, I haven't got the knowledge. Yeah? When I've got this, or when I've learned this, or when then I'll finish something. What they're really saying is, I'm scared. Listen up. I'm scared too. Are you scared, Luke?
Yes.
All the time. Yeah, we're all scared. We're humans. As is Aphex Twin, Quincy Jones, Sia or Sia. Yeah. But this is the difference between us and those who bang on about, when I bang on about quality, I mean I'm scared, folks. Yeah. We don't let the fear stop us from making progress. Yeah. We don't wait for confidence to show up. Right? Because you know what? Confidence is not what you need in order to make progress. If you're waiting for confidence, then you got it the wrong way around. Confidence comes from the process, not what you do before the process. Instead, you've got to use a different C. You got to use courage. So this is how it works. And I got this from a mentor of mine called Dan Sullivan. So this isn't my thing. Yeah. Number one, you want to do something you can't do. Yeah. So in order to do that, you need to use the first C, which is commitment. Yeah. So you make a commitment. I'm going to do this. Yeah. Now this is the mistake everyone makes. In trying to do that thing, they're waiting for confidence. I don't have the confidence to do it. That's not what you use in order to do it. In order to do it, you use courage, the second C. Yeah. You use courage because you can't do it yet. Yeah. You do the thing over and over again, using courage without confidence. That builds a new capability, which is the third C. Yeah. That new capability then brings you confidence. Right? So confidence is what comes from the process, not what you use to do the process. Yeah. So really, one of the things that splurging is teaching you as well is using courage, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so if there's just one thing that you can do to improve your music, speed up. This isn't just one thing, really. I suppose it's all part of one thing. Speed up, make more music, learn to laugh at and learn from the crap. Because quantity is what leads to progress, and progress is what leads to quality. Here endeth the lesson. So, yeah, it's really, really important that you get this. Because this is like flies in the face of just it's like the assumption out there about how we actually get better. But all of the greatest musicians, business people, inventors know this. They've done it. It's there, written down. This is what they did over and over again. So why does everybody, apart from the greatest, do the opposite? Why is that? Yeah. I think it's partly to do with how we're taught. But anyway, that's a different soapbox. So let's actually talk about the final countdown splurge. I'm going to run through the rules. Okay, so ask questions as we go through it. And Luke, if you can keep your eye on the chat. This time, I'm not actually going to... I'm not actually going to do a demo. Sorry, I closed the cameras down and I can't remember how to put them back, so I'm just having to flip between them, right? So I'm going to run through the rules of this splurge, and instead of demoing it live, I'm going to show you how this particular splurge led to how I'm making music now at Zentor. Because one of the things I want you to understand is that, this is just the start. Splurging, while it's just the start of the process, it can really, really revolutionize everything. Yeah, because really what Zentor is a series of final countdown splurges. That's really what the music is. Luke, can you see how that's true?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what you're doing every time you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And, actually asking the questions that I'm going to get you to ask in order to figure out your own final countdown splurge, your own kind of template. That's the question that I was constantly asking myself to come to the point where I'm absolutely, jumping up and down with joy because I'm loving making music so much. Yeah. But before that, don't forget the next session is in 3 days. 3 days. 3 days. 3 days. Not 2. And we're gonna talk about listening. It's the next important part of the creative process, the thing that people don't really teach you about because you just assume that you know how to do it, right? Why the way that you listen is important as how you make music, how to win the race against boredom, and keep the vibe alive on a track for as long as it takes, and the 3 distinct approaches you must take to make the best music you can, and when and how to make them. Okay, so don't forget that's in 3 days. So let's just go through these rules now for the final countdown splurge. All right, let's just shut some of these down. Hang on a minute. Let's get this right. There we go. So, what I want you to do in order to create your template is choose 3 elements that are fun and fast for you to make and which are the most important for your style of music. But the priority is actually speed. Yeah? So reflect on what you've learned about yourself and how you work from the splurges you've done already. Yeah? So when I say elements, I'm talking about things like, bass lines, arpeggiators, melodies, and piano chords, whatever is fun and fast for you to do, but the priority is speed. Okay? So, and again, when I say musical elements, these aren't the actual sounds, they're particular things. So, for instance, with me, it would be like improvising piano is a kind of element, or particular things that I improvise on piano. So particular harmonies, solo string lines, that kind of thing. Yeah. Then choose 3 instruments which are the quickest for you to use each musical element. Yeah. Even if you love using something which takes longer than something else, don't use it for this particular splurge. Yeah. So in other words, what you're looking to do is we are optimizing for speed. So Luke, why don't you give a few examples in your own situation of what you have done in the final countdown splurge? What kind of choices have you made in terms of your template to optimize for speed above anything else?
Sometimes I'll not use any hardware and just use software emulations because it's a little bit easier than having to record. I feel like when I'm optimizing for speed, I'll always just play it in versus, trying to click it in or program something. And then, going with the first take of something versus the trying to get it perfect. Mm-hmm. Just like record another thing on the 3 and going like that. That seems to really add a lot to the speed and reduce any sort of thinking that can start to influence you and slow you down.
Yeah.
And sometimes just recording like a piano line for just 3 minutes, just pressing record and whatever happens, and then that's the splurge.
Yeah. I mean, something else you can do is, can you put 2 sounds together to create a new one? Yeah, that's something that I've done. So, where Zentor was, from this, when I was like, okay, what's the quickest for me to use? Yeah, because all my music kind of has beats to it. That's something that I really love, and bass lines. And what I found with the DFAM and the subharmonicon together is that you don't have to write the beats; they just kind of happen. Yeah, and it's like I don't have to. Yeah, it's like I can kind of discover them because of the way it works. They've got the sequences work by knobs rather than buttons. Yeah, it's like it creates this a very, very simple way of creating cool beats that I like. Yeah. And the other thing is that I was like, right, well, the quickest thing, the thing that kind of reliably gets me sort of inspired is the piano and the Vangelis kind of synth. There's just something about it. And what I realized was when I put those together, which you'll often see me doing in a lot of my Zentor stuff, then it kind of creates a slightly different sound. I've actually got another sound that I'm not using at the moment because I'm focusing on just less sounds. which is a similar thing, putting two sounds together. This is about kind of making something go as fast as possible. Yeah. So this is about the actual music in your template. Yeah. You're optimizing for speed. Next, is there anything else you can do to your template to make your splurge quicker? So for instance, reducing options. So can you save samples you like in a particular folder? Can you quickly create a bank of sounds you know that you're into? Yeah, this is kind of that music production admin stuff that I'm so terrible at. Yeah, but make sure it's quickly. Don't get all kind of obsessed about it and end up spending 2 weeks doing it. Yeah. What decisions can you make up front? Can you use the same sound for a type of part for all countdown splurges? Can you pre-write placeholder parts for any of the instruments? So for instance, kick, hats, clap, if you're making counts of techno. Can you pre-write the same pattern for the template? Yeah. Just as a basic thing, just to do things. Yeah, just for this final countdown splurge, not forever, just for this final countdown splurge. Yeah. Can you pre-arrange that placeholder part? So actually lay that out on the screen. Yeah, so you've got like 8 bars of it. Yeah, well, maybe 16 bars of it, 8 bars of it out, and then another 8 bars. Yeah. Small workflow efficiencies like pre-select the sounds and save them in the template. I'm sure a lot of people are already doing this. Set the loop correctly. Literally, so you've got it in the template. It's actually already on the amount of bars that you want to loop. Yeah. In Logic, which I use sometimes, creating screen sets, which means you can go quicker. Keyboard shortcuts, that kind of stuff. Yeah. For Zentor, I mean, really, the whole of the thing comes from this. What I asked myself a question. It was sort of in the middle of last year, and Luke will remember when I asked this question, and I said, if I had to, and the "if I had to" question is so powerful in so many different ways. If I had to release a track every day for the rest of my life, I only had 1 hour a day to do it. Yeah, so I only had 1 hour a day for music, a track a day for the rest of my life, had only 1 hour a day to do it, and the quality had to improve. What would my music have to be and not be? What would I have to change about my music, about what I was actually trying to do? Yeah, and I mean this was just about optimizing for speed. I wasn't saying I necessarily wanted to do that, but that was the question I was asking myself. And what ended up happening by me obsessively asking that question, I was free writing about it. I was thinking about it. I was talking about it. I mean, you remember, Luke. I was kind of obsessed about it for a while. That's realized.
Why you're where you are.
Sorry.
That's why you're where you are with Zentor right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Kept asking.
Yeah, exactly. So what I realized was that where I get stuck in the process is like in the editing bit, the bit where I'm actually kind of assembling things on screen. So what I've ended up doing, and you don't have to end in this result. I'm just saying how powerful this is because it actually gets you focused on what you need to do. I actually removed any editing whatsoever. Zentor is now literally just I make the music in the moment. And as a result, I'm releasing an album a week. And I could do that. In an hour a day. But because I'm so addicted to it, I spend more than an hour a day. so yeah. I mean, obviously I master and mix the stuff. Yeah. But because it's kind of already done pretty much, it's a lot easier. Yeah. So this is how these things can kind of perpetuate. Okay. So this is, now we've done your sort of, you've thought about how you can optimize for speed. Yeah. Get a countdown timer. You can get one like this. I like actual physical timers, like a kitchen timer, maybe a phone timer, a computer timer, and Allen-off timer is one for the Mac. And set the countdown timer for 30 minutes. Yeah. And the goal is to do as many splurges as you can in that time, going as quickly as you can. Yeah. So I think I've managed to do 7 in 30 minutes once. Yeah. How many do you know how many you've done the most that you've done in 30 minutes, Luke?
No. I have no idea. I've done a lot in a day. I've probably done 30 to 40 in a day. But
right.
I don't know that wouldn't have been in 30 minutes.
This is slightly different. This is about the a 30-minute stretch. How many can I do in that time? It's like the win is seeing how many you can get done in 30 minutes. Yeah. So at the start with the core splurge, I was giving you 30 minutes for one splurge. We flipped it, and it's how many can you do in 30 minutes? Yeah. Now going fast, just to be clear, going fast isn't the only thing that we want to do forever. But going fast is like optimizing for speed is a technique that we can use to learn. Yeah, so I'm not saying this is the way that you must always write music, make as many splurges as you can in 30 minutes. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's a technique that we can use to make progress and figure things out. In quickness comes truth. Yeah. And what happened, the startling thing that happened, I had no idea. I mean, this literally came from this splurge. Yeah. Because I started practicing writing parts fast, because I was seeing how many I could do in 30 minutes, yeah, obviously, I was writing more parts very quickly, obviously. Yeah, it's not only that I was writing parts fast, but I was practicing writing more parts. So while the parts initially started rubbish, gradually, they became better and better until the first take reliably became the best. It was like every time I went back and started editing the take, it was worse. So now I was like, well, if that's the case, then why don't I just make the music live? Right? Now, this isn't if you don't want to make music live, this isn't the natural end result. This was just my end result of doing this. Yeah? But if the more that you practice, the more you practice doing something fast, the better it will become. Yeah? And again, there is deliberateness to it. I showed you me tracking my improvisation, what I'm doing as Zentor, but that doesn't mean you have to be careful in doing it. Yeah. Next rule. As you're splurging, add the parts in an arrangement. So if you're in Ableton, work in arrangement view. And I'm not saying you have to do this all the time, I'm just saying for this splurge. So that you're actually writing the arrangement as you go. Yeah. And if you have time, make a couple of visual variations. But for this one, you don't have to. Yeah. And if you're not in a DAW, record what you can on the fly and do the minimum messing about. Yeah. And repeat this countdown session as many times as you have time for. And of course, the same rules apply. 0 focus on quality. For this one, 200% focus on quantity and speed. And with the saving of the project files, if you can, export or record all the splurges you've done after the countdown ends. Yeah, rather than in the middle of it, because that's going to reduce the amount of time. So that means you can actually put each splurge into one file, if you can. Yeah. And if you can't, and you have to record at the end of each splurge, don't worry. Stop the timer to recording each splurge, and start the timer again when you start another splurge. Yeah. But either way, make sure you have got stereo audio files of all your splurges before you leave your music space. Yeah. Do not think that listening to your ideas back later in your DAW is okay. It's not. You have to be listening to the stereo audio exports. Yeah. And remember, do not listen until day 11, which is very soon. Okay. So those are the rules of the final countdown splurge. Are there any questions that people have? Remember, the rules all these rules are on the coaching site, and there's another explanation and a demo of it on the coaching site as well.
Let's see. Ricardo Santos says, I don't have a MIDI keyboard and I don't feel comfortable playing with my computer's keyboard. I click away until I find notes that I like. So how does this go with your first take fast apply to me?
But that,
so I said,
let me just say that was me. I was talking about me there. That wasn't a rule. Yeah, that was talking about me. That was just me giving an example. Yeah, but Luke, carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could take the same philosophy, and you said you click around, click away. Just don't. Just go. Just click them in, and then just go on.
Yeah, I mean, like again, until I find something I like. Right, how about just going with something that you don't like? Because until you find something you like, that's focusing on quality, isn't it? Ben has a question. Are we limiting this to 3 instruments now instead of 5? Yes. Exactly. Making it quicker. Mark, you don't have to do 2 question marks. You can just do 1. That's fine. Oh, I don't know the answer to this question. Yeah. So, take a breath. It's okay. So, do we record multiple ideas in one template? Yes. You can do it. You can record. So, for one countdown, if this is how you do it, if you work in a door, then yeah, no, that's right. Usually, you would do 1 idea per session. Yeah, but in this, this is different. It's a new splurge. That means we're doing multiple ideas in one session. And if you're in a door, the quickest way of doing that would be to have 3 different splurges, which you would export separately within one project file. Yes. So, Luke, speak to this. I do not understand the difference. James is saying, I do not understand the difference between listening as a stereo file and from your door, given I'm still getting a stereo image of the sound. Yes. So, have you done it, James? Have you done this? That's why you don't understand. So I'm asking you to do it so that you can create knowledge and understand it. Yeah. But anyway, why don't you speak to the reason, Luke? For James's editor. Let's talk to James's editor.
Well, first off, it's nothing to do with the stereo image. It's all about the fact that a lot of people listen in a DAW and they hear in the first 5 seconds, oh, that hi-hat could be better. And they start changing that hi-hat. And then they get to the next 8 seconds. And then they start changing like this little kick thing. And then the entire time they're already focused on fixing the music when they haven't even given the full track a listen. So what you're doing, you're listening outside of the DAW, is you're listening to it the way a listener would hear it versus the way you would hear it as a producer. So you're giving yourself a chance to listen to the full thing, and instead of getting bogged down in these little minute details that have a less than 1% chance of improving the track, you're hearing the full vision, the full thing, the full piece, and you're able to make the critical decisions that will have a massive impact because you've experienced the full track as it is.
Exactly.
And it's just really easy when you have the DAW in front of you to just go in and start before you even have gotten an objective view of what is happening in the full track.
Yeah. So, number 1, these things aren't very good at listening. These things are. Yeah. And if you're in a DAW, you will tend to listen with your eyes. And yeah, I've tried it and it doesn't work very well. That's the first thing. As Luke said, it prevents you from tinkering. Yeah. Number 2, have you ever had the experience of making a piece of music and then playing it to somebody and it sounds completely different at that point? Has anyone ever had that experience? Yeah. Why is that? It's the same piece of music. Yeah. I've had the experience of finishing a piece of music, putting it up on Spotify, and then listening to it and it sounds different as a result of it being on Spotify. This isn't because the audio file has changed. It's not because the Spotify algorithm. There are entire forum threads out there arguing about whether a export of Logic is different to the actual logic, thing. Yeah. When I first made music, I started out on physical stuff and we recorded to tape. And then we recorded to DAT tape. And we always found that it sounded different. And at first, when it was tape, when it was analog tape, it was like, well, it was because of the tape. Yeah. And then we recorded to digital tape. And again, it sounded different when we listened back to the DAT, the digital tape. Right? And we were like, what's going on? We spent hours trying to figure out why it sounded different because it's digital. We were like, well, the stuff coming out of the computer, it should be because it's ones and zeros. What's the difference? And then things went inside the box and I started listening. So we started exporting things within the box and the same thing happened. It sounded different out the door than it did as a stereo audio file. And this is without, things like LFOs and random things happening. This was, that's not that, exactly the same thing sounding different. What is this? What is this difference, James? Why does it sound different? It's the same stereo audio file. It's the same stereo image of the sound. The difference is all of the things that I've just mentioned, playing it to someone that's sounding different, it sounding different on a different day, is that what if the music isn't changing, but our perception of it is, then why is that? One of the things that changes how you hear the music is the context in which we listen to it. Not just the speakers they come out of, not just the room that we hear it in, but also the psychological context we listen to it in. And as soon as you export the thing to a stereo file and you're listening to a stereo file, rather than it being in a DAW, the psychological context of that piece of music is different. You are listening to it closer to the way that it will be when it's finished. Yeah. So that's why. Okay. Yeah. And turning off your screen is not following this rule. Export the stereo file. If you don't do that, you're not following the instructions. Okay. So, just turning off the screen and making notes and listening out your door. No, you've got to export. It's different. Like, I've been doing this a long time. I've exported a lot of music. I've done this for 25 years. Trust me. The context, including the psychological context of how you're hearing the music, makes an enormous difference. It's surprising to me still, even now, but it's true. Okay. So, any other questions? I don't think so. Fabulous. So, there's an after party. As ever, link in the description. I'm playing live in 45 minutes from now. So, if you're up for that, do that. Don't forget, also, the Turbo Track Attack is coming next week if you want to do that too. Again, it's not required. And I will send you an email about it too after the challenge is done. So enjoy the final countdown splurge. Go fast. Go as fast as you possibly can. What have you got to lose? Nothing and everything to gain. You've got everything to gain. Okay. Have fun. Ask questions on the Discord community if you want. And don't forget the next live session. Oh yeah, and also sorry about dropping out halfway through. And the next live session is in 3 days. 3 days from today. Okay? Not 2 days. So that's your Friday if you're in the UK, Europe, North America, Canada, etc., South America. Or Saturday if you're over our end, if you live in the future. Okay? So I've had a lot of fun on this one. Great to hang out with you. Until next time, onwards and upwards.